Yeah, it's one heart, one shot, now the future is yours. I'm turning dreams into reality. In the night with the...
What's up, pre-PTs? How y'all doing? Hope you're having an absolutely amazing evening and that life is treating you well. Welcome to another episode of the Pre-PT Grind Chat Live, where every single Thursday night, Casey and I come on here inside of this group and we serve you. We serve you and we share something that we believe will help you get closer to getting accepted into PT school. So if you're still on your journey to getting into PT school and beyond, then you are in the right place. So for those of y'all that are watching live, comment hashtag team live. For those of y'all that are watching on replay, comment hashtag team replay and tag a friend, somebody that you know that's in this group that needs to hear this training. Tag them. This is going to be a good one. Tonight we're talking about our number one strategy to help you become an irresistible PT school applicant. So hope y'all are ready for it. Casey's going to be joining me on here in just a few seconds. Next, Michaela, how you doing? Good to see you. Let's see if we get Casey on here. Casey, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Oh, I love it. All right, perfect. So for those of y'all that are live, let's have some fun. So if you are new to this group, we are Casey and Joseph. Those are our two names, and we're both physical therapists, and we help y'all get into PT school, y'all, without wasting time or money. So if that's what you're looking for, we got you. And before we continue, this weekend on Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, we have our final PT school acceptance masterclass of the year. We're not doing it again, but a lot of the things that you're going to hear tonight, we will actually be expounding on them more on Sunday. So if you have not saved a seat, I think I checked, we're just shy of 900 students that have already registered for it. So go save your seat. Go to leveluptheprept.com and you'll save your seat there. If you've already saved your seat, perfect. You're going to be in the right place. And so if you feel stuck and you just need some clarity, direction, seeing what has worked for other students that have struggled like you, then just join us there and we got you. We'll make sure you're taken care of. But prior to that, tonight, we want to talk about our number one strategy to help you become an irresistible PT school applicant. So comment irresistible. So if you're watching live or if you're watching on replay, comment irresistible if you're like, man, like it would just be nice. It would be nice to feel like these schools actually find me a little irresistible. Like they actually want me in their program. You know, they want to give me that ever desired acceptance letter. You know, like I want schools to want me. I want the schools that I'm interested in to really want me. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Four key steps that are going to help you guys out. And we're calling it our number one strategy mainly because if you can listen to these 4 steps that we're going to share with you as part of this strategy and ask yourself, wait a minute, am I applying all 4? Are there any of the 4 that I need to lean in harder on? I want you to really like self-reflect today. And then ask yourself, okay, whichever one of these I'm struggling with, how can I get help with it so that I can be one step closer to being an irresistible applicant? So that's the point of tonight. And so because we're going to be talking about a strategy, Casey, let me actually explain something. So there are 2 parts, right? There are strategies and tactics, right? Tactics are tactics change, right? You know, like if the PT CAS essay changes, we are going to have to change our, tactic a little bit. You know, the essay prompt might be different or whatnot. This year, it's most likely going to stay the same, but let's say it did change, right? Let's say schools that once looked at the GRE and now do not look at the GRE, our tactics might change a little bit, right? So those are things that change all the time, but strategies do not. The strategy that we're going to talk to you guys about tonight is one that we have used for years, literally like years. As application cycles have come and gone, this has been the premise, the baseline of what we've used to help students really, like, regardless of where they were in their application process, regardless of what they were struggling with, helping them really get in control of their application. So we are going to call it the CAPE method. All right, so put that in the comments. That is the name of the strategy that we're going to teach you guys tonight. Take notes. And then ask yourself, which of these four that Casey and Joseph are about to talk about do I need to lean in on? So put CAPE method, C-A-P-E, put CAPE method in the comments below if you're ready to hear what the CAPE method is. And then we're going to break it down. And then if you want to hear more and you're like, hey, like I want to continue this conversation and just have it, you know, just go in depth as to how I can really apply these things, then just sign up for Sunday's masterclass and we will do that with y'all for an hour and a half. So CAPE method. So C, I'm going to say what all the letters stand for, and then Casey, let's break it down. All right. So C stands for clarify. A stands for anticipate. P stands for prepare. And E stands for execute. Clarify, anticipate, prepare, and execute. We're going to break these down, but I'm telling y'all right now, if y'all are trying to become irresistible applicants, these are the four, like I know we teach a lot of other stuff, but you have to understand everything we teach literally comes out of these four. Like everything, Casey, ain't that right? Like everything we teach, all the tactics and all the other, like those all come from these four. So let's understand them and ask ourselves, are we respecting them? All right. So let's start with C. Casey, do you want to do C or you want me to do C?
Go for it.
Let's do it. So clarify where you are without comparing yourself to everyone else. That's the first one. Clarify where you are. Say me if you ever or you have found yourself comparing yourself to other pre-PTs. Say me. For those of y'all that are live, like if you have at some point found yourself comparing yourself to other students, you're like, shoot, like that person's kind of ahead of me with the GRE or the application process or all these different things. And when you compare yourself, it actually makes you feel worse about where you're at. Or maybe you've spoken to an advisor that, you know, I think Casey did a pretty cool TikTok on it where you're basically like placing all these problems or things you're struggling with. And they're like, I don't know, try something else. I don't know. Like how many, say me if you have ever found yourself in that position. Because this right here, before we go any further, it is one of the huge roadblocks that a lot of students have, right? Whether it's non-traditional students, like traditional students, like clarify. Like we have to be able to clarify where you're at, and by you I mean you specifically. Like where am I at? Like for myself, I have to block out everybody else. I think a lot of times we weigh, we'll break this down on Sunday a little bit more, but like we weigh ourselves because we're spending so much time being pulled by what we think we should be doing, by, you know, watching what other students are doing. Oh, they're getting ready for PT Cast to open. And so we're watching to the point where we're not even focusing on ourselves. Like we're not even focusing on our understanding of how the process works. Like we can't tell you how many applications we've seen come through that have basically been like snatched away simply because someone didn't understand the process, like how it all worked. like do you understand it, or are you just waiting for PT Cast to open and then saying, all right, cool, like I'll figure it out, I'll go with the flow, I'll see what happens, because that's a recipe for a major surprise. Understanding where I am in relation to where I should be. Understanding like what the schools I'm applying to are actually looking at, because they're the ones that are going to accept me. My classmates are not accepting me. My advisor is not going to be the one that accepts me. So how much clarity do I really have? And if you're telling yourself, wait a minute, like I don't really know. I'm kind of, you know, seeing how it works. You know, I've worked hard, so I think I'm ready. You know, I've finished my undergrad, so I think I'm ready. I want to get in, so I think I'm ready. Like we never really ask ourselves how clear we are. Like, do I know what my action steps should be for me? Do I know whether I'm an actual match for the schools I'm applying to for me? How much clarity do I have? Because if you don't have clarity, what ends up happening is we start playing the guessing game. If you ever feel like you're guessing with anything, guessing on how to deal with the GRE, guessing on how many schools you think you should apply to, and maybe you feel so nervous that you're like, hey, I'm gonna apply to 15 schools, to 20 schools. Like that's a recipe for disappointment. And so the first one is clarify where you're at. Like, there is no student we will ever coach where that is not the first step that we have to lock in. Because if we literally, if we don't clarify where we're at, then all we're doing is just chasing like it doesn't matter like what tactics we use. If we don't have clarity on ourselves, then all we're doing is just chasing things that might lead us astray. So Casey, what are your thoughts on this first point? Because I really want them to understand it before we go to the next 3 steps.
Yeah, my favorite analogy is always the one where you're looking at somebody else's car or somebody else's problems when you're trying to clarify what's going on with your own application or your own car. It's just when we make different analogies like that, or like with something else, it just makes it a lot more clear. And this is especially I guess going on now with what's happening with PTCAS opening in 5 days.
I'm telling you,
a lot of that is going on where there's not real clarity. You're not really clarifying your specific situation, and it leads to a lot of havoc. It leads to a lot of running around with your head cut off like a chicken. It leads to a lot of unwarranted stress that does not need to happen if you have just clarified everything that Joseph was talking about. So that's always my favorite analogy when we're talking about clarity of where you're at, because it's just not the same. It's not the same vehicle. It's not the same route. It's not the same problems. It's not the same gas you put in the car. It's totally different with your situation versus others. And that's why the C for clarity is so important to me. So that's my short thoughts on this one.
I love it. Y'all, did point number 1 make sense? Say make sense in the chat if point number 1 was clear. Because if we miss that, if we're applying this cycle and we're not respecting this, then I mean, like, there's no way to really know what to expect. And I think it just creates so much more anxiety because we're crossing our fingers the whole time. And you don't have to do that. All right. So point number 2 is anticipate. We want you to start anticipating everything. Literally anticipate everything, because, you know, like, unforced errors as a pre-PT, unforced errors come from not just not understanding, but not anticipating what will come next or be required of you as a pre-PT, right? I think sometimes we always, you know, see it as I'll figure it out after. I'll figure it out after I submit my application. I'll figure it out after June 15th when PTCAS opens. I'll figure it out after my classmates start their application, because we'll just kind of meet up and, you know, apply together or something. Like, I'll figure it out after I get my first call for an interview. I'll figure it out after. And that right there can really set you up for some unforced errors. So start switching your mindset into anticipating everything that like everything that you need to do. Because remember, first step was clarity. Like, do I understand the process? Do I understand how this thing works? Right? Okay. Like, now anticipating, can I anticipate what the schools will want and why? Can I start getting into their minds and asking myself, well, if they were looking at me, what would they be looking at? What would they be looking for? What would they be needing? Why is that? How can I use that to maybe kind of shift the direction that I go with my PTCAS essay? How can I use that to, shift, what I do in terms of, maybe how I communicate with the schools right before I submit my application or even after I submit it? How can I use that to manage my expectations, right? Like, when I can anticipate, then there's less stress, right? Like if you can start getting into the minds of the schools, that's a big thing. Like, so now PTCAS, like, can I anticipate what PTCAS is and isn't, right? I think sometimes we think that PTCAS is the application, which it's not. Like, PTCAS is just a fraction of it. PTCAS is just where you just plug in all your information. It's this middleman that schools use to basically kind of see all the stuff that you've done academically and not. So do I understand? Can I anticipate what that will look like? Can I anticipate what my GPA will actually look like when the school gets it? Because sometimes we're like, oh yeah, I'll just plug it into PTCAS, whatever, GPA PTCAS gives me, that's the one that the schools are going to look at. And that's not always the case. So can I anticipate it? Because if I can start anticipating it, then can you see what's starting to happen? When I have clarity, and then when I start to anticipate, I actually guess less. There's far less guesswork, which means that I'm not as anxious. It also allows me to know, okay, like, wow, okay, maybe I wasn't as strong of an applicant as I thought. So I can manage my expectations. Now I'm not like holding my breath every single day. I'm not checking my email, every 2 hours, which I remember happening to me even as a pre-PT when I submitted my application. Like, I'm not doing that simply because I have put myself in a position where I can actually anticipate it. So Casey, what are your thoughts on anticipate before we go to the last 2 points?
Yeah, I like everything you said. Just to add on to it and branch off, I think anticipating your needs as a pre-PT is huge as well, because we just came back from a PT conference, and what a lot of pre-PTs who were there, and SPTs as well, who've been through our acceptance system coaching program, started to do was see how they could anticipate their needs right now and their future needs, regardless of where they were at, because they saw a lot of people at different steps along the way of people who were before them, whether it was 2 years out of school, still in school, 15 years out, frustrated, trying to start their business now after being out in the field, all that stuff. They saw all that. And what started to happen in their heads was they were trying to anticipate their needs. Forget about the school for a second. The school is just in the way. We're PT school is just here. It's just, all right, checkpoint, pass, go, and collect 200, right? It's just there. You're not doing all this. Like we say all the time for PT school, it's to be in this field, is to be in this career as a PT. So if you step outside of the school for a second and, go back in, do all your stuff, do what you got to do. But if you step outside for a second and put yourself first and anticipate your own needs, now you're thinking, let's start as a pre-PT, your needs as a pre-PT. Okay, after PTCast opens, like Joseph was talking about, what's going to be my next needs? Okay, after I input my classes, what's going to be my next needs? How am I going to feel after the essay's done? No, what are my next needs with all that pre-PT stuff, even after you get accepted or rejected or waitlisted, whatever you want to think about, what are my next needs going to be as a pre-PT? Once I get accepted and that celebration dopamine wears off, what am I going to need? What should I anticipate? Once I get into PT school, what am I going to need? What should I anticipate? Once I'm a physical therapist, what should I anticipate? What am I going to need? What are other people going through right now that I can learn from so I don't have to go through all of that? They've already done it for me. They already experienced all those problems. So I think that's a good thing to start thinking about when you're going through this A in the CAPE method, because yes, applying is important. Yes, anticipating the school's needs is important. We talk about that all the time. You have to do that. But at the same time, you're the customer. It's your life. It's your career.
It's true.
Anticipate what you need to go through next, because if you don't do that now, it's going to hit you and you're going to be like, oh, snap. How do I pay for PT school? It's going to hit you. Oh, snap. I hate these clinicals I'm on. Why didn't I pick a different school with better clinicals? It's going to hit you. Oh, man, I'm only getting paid $60,000 a year instead of doing something else and getting paid 60 and having a side hustle that pays me 20, or getting another job that pays me 120. Or you got to anticipate your needs as well. So I just want to branch off on the A of anticipate for that one. So that's it.
Y'all, is this clear? Like, is this clear so far? Say crystal clear in the chat below if this is clear so far, because y'all, we want you to just ask yourself, am I doing this? Like, even if it makes sense, it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, Casey and Joseph. Okay, like, are you doing it? Are you doing it? Because if you're not, then it's still, I mean, it's not really working for you, right? Let's go to P, prepare. So just understand that a lot of us as students, and we ask this a lot, like how confident do you feel in your ability to, get into a program? And a lot of students say that they struggle with confidence, right? Like a lot of us just do not feel super confident about our ability to get into a program. And one of the best ways to improve your confidence, and there's a number of other ways, right? But one of the best ones is through preparation, like real preparation, right? So this is where now we use our knowledge. Now we use our A, anticipation, to put in the work starting now, right? Even though PTCast is not opening up for a few days as we record this, by the time this is published on our podcast, it'll probably be after PTCast opens. But literally, like, anticipating now and putting in the work now to leverage everything you have already anticipated. So if I'm going to prepare, what can I start doing now? Like, how can I be proactive starting now? How can I, start preparing through my understanding of the programs like we talked about? How can I, prepare for how I will communicate my story and experiences with the schools? Like, how can I prepare in learning how to communicate my story in writing, like in the essay, right? Because that's super, super critical. Like, if I'm just going to wait and kind of see how it flows and goes, like, that's going to work against me. But if I can prepare, remember, if you want to feel more confident, we got to like prepare, y'all. Like, we have to prepare. Like learning how PTCast works as a whole, now that we're preparing to transition into it. Diving into the areas that are most important to the schools you're applying to. How can I prepare that way? How can I prepare through researching the program? How can I prepare through talking to students that have gone to that program? How can I, y'all, like, preparation is everything. The more you prepare, the more certain you feel, the more confident you feel, the more in control you feel as a pre-PT. But I think a lot of times we don't understand the weight of it. And many times we're just like, yeah, I looked at the school's website, I talked to a few people. Yeah. I like the school. I'm going to apply and see what happens. Y'all, like, did you actually prepare? Did you even go the extra mile and learn about hot topics within the profession so that your level of conversation with the schools and the faculty is so deep that they're like, whoa, like, we've never seen another pre-PT that communicates like you do. My level of preparation, like I'm telling you right now, correlates with my level of being able to show up as the best version of myself. And y'all, hold on. So if preparation improves my confidence, do y'all know like how your communication changes, like how you carry yourself when you're actually confident? Like do y'all like, ask yourself this: if I was walking into an interview and I was not confident, like I felt like I'm so unprepared, like I don't even know what to expect, like, do y'all really think that I'm going to show up as the best version of me? I can't. Even for an interview, even if I've gone to the process of, even if the schools looked at my paperwork and they're like, ooh, like, this is a student we actually want to bring in for an interview. Let's check them out. Let's see if they're a match for what we're looking for. Y'all, like, if I haven't prepared, if I haven't leveraged preparation like to the T, then it's going to show in how I carry myself. Look at how Casey and I communicate to y'all. Like we don't just come in here and say, all right, let's just see what pops up in our head. We prepare. Casey and I talked about this topic earlier today. Like during the workday, we were messaging back and forth and saying, hey man, like, so that by the time we're here live, we're prepared, which comes off in how we're communicating to you right now. So as a pre-PT, am I leveraging that heavily? Casey, what are your thoughts on this before we hit the last point?
The main word that kept coming to mind when you were talking was practice. Like, it just kept coming to mind was practice.
You talking about practice?
Exactly. Because all you were saying was literally that. Like, if you go and make the analogy to football, basketball, whatever your sport is, when you see somebody make a three, at game 7, 2 seconds left, they can hit that shot with their eyes closed, pregame. You guys, the ones who
Steph
follow
Curry.
all these sports, right? They throw it behind their head and nothing.
Easy.
But it's practice, right? When Joseph was talking about the essay, the interview, the looking into schools, all that stuff, all that is the literal practice before the big game, before you actually talk to them in emails, info sessions, interviews. You already did this. You already talked to other PTs. You already talked to us. You already talked to student PTs. So by the time you go and talk to these, big, scary DPT chairs, you're like, I already practiced. I talked to the clinic director of, these 3 practices. I talked to this business owner. I went to the healthcare live event in Orlando. Yeah, I talked to millionaire PTs. I talked to struggling PTs. That's what I do. I feel like I'm already in this profession because I practice or because I prepared for it. So that's the biggest thing that kept coming to mind when you were saying everything on this topic of prepare. So
boom.
That's it.
Oh, I love it. Y'all, last one is execute. Can y'all say execute in the chat? For those of y'all that are live, say execute. Because all those first 3 points mean absolutely nothing if you don't execute. You have to, like, execution means trusting my preparation and simply putting in the work without overthinking it. If I haven't done, so sometimes we do the execution without the first 3. and we end up basically like wearing ourselves thin. That's when we're just retaking whatever classes I'm told. That's when I'm just submitting my application. Joseph Casey, I'm working hard, which means that if I'm working this hard, they should notice that I'm working hard and they should accept me. But you're surprised when it doesn't work out in your favor. Typically, that means that the first three, we didn't master something along the way. But if I've mastered the first three, if my C, my A, and my P are locked in, then my execution literally should actually come easier, because I don't have to overthink it. If I'm crystal clear, if I've anticipated as much as I possibly can, and I've gotten coaching and direction, that's why we're saying, y'all, Sunday, show up, like register for the masterclass. We're about to break it down. If I've anticipated, if I've prepared, then my execution should actually be easier, because I can just trust it. It's like what Casey just said. These basketball players in the game, they're not overthinking it. You think Steph Curry is out here like, wait a minute, I know I did this at practice. Deep breath. Okay, I know. Okay, LeBron's about to, come and block me. Deep breath. No, he's not overthinking. It's muscle memory at that point, y'all. He just trusts it. He's like, and then he just turns around and does his little like shimmy, right? So he executes because he's trusting those first three. Another thing is execute early and often. Execute early and often. Don't wait for deadlines to be what determines what you do and when you do it. Just because my application's not due for a given program until October 1st doesn't mean I should be waiting until a few days before to submit my essay to be reviewed by such and such. And now I'm stressed out. I'm like, oh, well, my application is due in 2 days, but I waited until the last possible moment because I was so anxious and I didn't do anything for the last 2 months. So y'all, no. We have to start executing if we've done those three right. When it comes to PTCast, when it comes to my essay, when it comes to my interview, execute. But like I said, execution is great, and some of us just don't really execute. But for those of us that execute and we feel like we're executing and putting in the work, but it's just going into thin air, it just means that you haven't done one of the other three. And so just leverage those, lean into those. Ask yourself, am I clear? Ooh, okay, cool, I'm good. Am I anticipating everything? Okay, great. Have I prepared? Cool. Now I can trust my execution. If you guys can do that and use those four and do them over and over, I'm telling you right now, you're going to feel like a much stronger applicant. You're going to be in a lot more control, and you'll be well on your way to being accepted into a DPT program. Casey, what are your thoughts on the last thing?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that came to mind was imperfect action. I forgot who was the original person who came up with that term, but we've heard it a lot throughout all the stuff we've learned. And the biggest thing is when you were talking was me saying taking imperfect action with the C, A, and the P part. Because, yeah, you got to be, technical. You got to put stuff right into PTCast. So I don't want it to come across like, oh, he said imperfect action. Let's just throw anything on PTCast. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. But if you're hesitant with finding your clarity or anticipating or preparing or practicing, like, this is what it's here for. All of your time as a pre-PT, all of your time preparing for the application is for you to get your reps in, for you to get your shots up. So when you do go to execute, you are as perfect as possible. You're getting all the rust out. Then over time, your practice becomes perfect. For those of you who play instruments and sports and all that, they always say that. But how do you get to that point? You just don't have perfect practice overnight. Like, yeah, you don't have perfect practice overnight. So going through the C, A, and the P with imperfect action will refine you over and over again. So by the time you do execute and do what Joseph said, you're as close to perfect as possible. You're filling in PTCast with all the technicalities that needs to be. You're talking to these professors at a very high level. You're writing your essay as perfect as possible because you've done all these reps over and over again. So imperfect action, if you're scared, if you're like, I don't know where to start, then, you can take imperfect action with leveluptheprept.com and just sign up. Just sign up because it won't be perfect automatically, but to get to where you want to be for that perfect, standout application, it's time to act. It's time to act now. So that was the thought that came to mind.
Boom. That's it, y'all. Was this helpful? For those of y'all watching live, was this helpful? Because this is the game. There's no secret, kind of magic pill to the application process, but there are steps. And I think if you guys have followed us for a while, you understand that there's always a next step. There's always a way out. It's just a matter of whether I'm willing to do what that way out is and leverage what that way out means. And so if y'all are still trying to get control of your application, y'all see us on Sunday. Go to leveluptheprept.com. We'll be there to serve you and help you get one step closer to your dream. And look forward to celebrating with you and, you know, welcoming you into the profession. But y'all, CAPE, the CAPE method, leverage it, embrace it, own it, take massive, massive, massive action after you've done the first three, and we'll see you on the other side. Much love. See you guys. Bye.